Hi, it's Whitney from EcoVeganGal.com, and welcome back to Eco Vegan Gal Uncensored, the channel in which I share my thoughts and experiences in life. It doesn't necessarily have to do with veganism, but all ties into the idea of living a happy, healthy, usually mind healthy life. Today, I had an experience that I want to share. And this is something that I feel like I greatly benefited from experiencing. And I feel like all of us come across this sometime in our lives and need to deal with it. Almost all of us. Some people are fortunate, maybe like New Yorkers or something. But that is getting a parking ticket. Yes, I got a parking ticket today for the first time in I couldn't even tell you the last time. Maybe at least a few years it's been. I just can't remember when I got one last. Actually no, I got one in New York City. Funny enough, I was driving in New York City last year and I got one. And wow, it's such an interesting experience. I really wanted to share this because we tend to have there's kind of like this common, standard, typical reaction to getting a parking ticket. And it's usually anger, frustration, bitterness. You start to feel really resentful. You start to think about what you could have done to prevent it. Maybe you start beating yourself up emotionally. Maybe you feel really angry at the city. Maybe you feel really frustrated with the person that gave you the ticket and you get into a shouting match with them. It can go on and on and on. It can be a very traumatic experience. So the funniest thing about this one for me is so much happened in the course of this, and I actually took notes. I wish that I had space on my iPhone to have been able to record a video and like stop and just express it. But I also had a great opportunity to reflect on it, and I learned so many lessons from this. So the way it happened was I went to the post office. I had 3 things to drop off at the post office. Rainy day in LA. I'm feeling great. I'm having a successful day and just feeling awesome. I go in and I drive up. It's pouring rain, and I guess the rain's so rare in LA. I feel like everything kind of stops and everyone acts differently in Los Angeles. So I just think, I'm going to run in there. I'm going to put the packages down. I'll come right out. It's going to be 30 seconds. And I just decided to do that. It didn't even occur to me that was a big deal, but I was double parked in the red section, red paint on the sidewalk. And I ran in, came out, and there I was. My car was getting a ticket. And I, took that chance to say, wait, but it was too late. I mean, this is like probably a minute or less that this happened. And the guy, says, no, it's too late. And I just got in my car and I sat there and I thought, okay, how am I going to handle this? My first reaction was, of course, replaying the situation. Then I was thinking, how am I going to get out of this, right? That's another thing we think about. And then I felt kind of resentful towards the guy giving me a ticket. But I sat there, didn't really react. He gave me the ticket. He didn't even look at me. And I sat there for a moment afterwards and I said out loud, what can I learn from this? And it's really, what can I do to make this situation feel okay? And that's really the core of what I want to get to in this video of we always have a choice about how to handle situations. And we can choose to be angry. We can choose to be upset. We can choose to be happy. We can choose whatever we want. And in hindsight, now that I'm even saying these words, but also just the past hour that has been of me processing this experience, I recognize that it might have even been a gift for me to have this experience, or at least I'm making it one. I don't know if I believe that this happened for a reason. Maybe it did. I don't know. It doesn't really feel like that big of a deal, But I chose to make it a very positive experience that I could learn from. Instead of an experience that took something from me, it's an experience that I'm gaining from. How empowering is that? You're no longer a victim if you gain something from something, right? From an incident like this. But what I find is what most people do is they focus on what they lost. They focus on the negative feelings. So I looked at the receipt. I knew it wasn't going to be anything less than $60. And I was hoping it wouldn't be over $100, right? Because it wasn't just a regular parking ticket. I'd parked in the red, even though my flashers were on. It was 1 minute. Doesn't matter. $93. For most people, that is a lot of money. Can you imagine going somewhere and them telling you that it would cost you $93 to park for 1 minute at the post office? No. Outrageous. And the funny thing is, they have a free parking lot across the street that I chose not to park in because it was raining and I didn't want to cross the street in the rain. And there was a meter that I looked at, I noticed right after I parked, and I said, it's going to be so fast, right? Maybe we'll talk more about my mental process later. But anyways, my point being is it cost me $93 to park for a minute. And of course, that one of those feelings that comes up is, oh my gosh, $93 just got taken away from me. And for me, it's a very common thing. And I think for many people, when it comes to money, for that to be the focus. Oh my God, I can't afford this, or I could have done so much with $93 and the holidays are coming up. I could have given gifts for $93 and I could have done this, and that. And especially for me, I'm so mindful of money and my spending and budgeting and all that stuff. And so $93 is a lot of money. However, what's really interesting is I was quickly able to shift it into feeling like nothing. And that was one of the most empowering feelings. And that's what I mean when it feels like a gift, because I was able to work on that. And a huge thing that I'm working on right now that I really want to inspire you to work on is just all about changing the energy around money. I'm a huge believer in manifestation and visualization and energy. And I believe that you can shift things, that the world is really whatever you want it to be. It's all about this perception in our head, right? And maybe our heart, if you consider that, right? So really in that situation, I had all the power. First of all, I was the one that made the mistake in the first place, so I did deserve that ticket. There's no arguing around that. And after thinking about it for a few minutes, I realized there's no way I'm going to get out of this ticket. I have to pay it. And I'm not going to wait around. I'm going to pay it tonight and just get it over with and close that door. But I am going to enjoy thinking about everything that I could learn from this. So there were many, many things that I came up with, which was really cool. I was on my way from the post office to another store, and I had like 15 minutes or so to really ponder it, plus in the store, plus on the ride back. So again, I've spent this past hour and a half, however long it's been now, to really just ponder this whole experience. And I took some notes because I didn't want to forget anything, because so much came up for me. So again, I am grateful for this, and I encourage you, it doesn't have to be the specific situation of getting a ticket. It could be anything where you make a mistake and you have to pay for it literally or figuratively, or anything that feels like it's done to you. To me, it's all about learning something from it, gaining something. First of all, probably not going to park in a red zone again, even if it's for, just 30 seconds, right? However, one thing that came up for me was how interesting it is that we live in a world that punishes us for stuff like that. To me, it's like how interesting that we employ people to spend their time looking for people that are making mistakes. No wonder we're so afraid of making mistakes. We get punished for them. And it sets that energy there. But the way that you can change that is by not punishing yourself. So for me, I didn't allow myself to feel bad. I gave myself a quick slap on the hand saying, you shouldn't have done that, Whitney. That's just what happened here. But that's it. I will not allow myself to feel punished at all after that. And again, that's that empowerment, right? That's taking control. That's not being a victim. But it is really sad. And I did allow myself to feel sadness for just the state of our system here. And, I think about this sometimes, especially when it comes to cars. For whatever reason, I feel a lot of stress around cars. And as I mentioned in the latest video, I've been thinking about getting an electric car. And there's been a lot of negative energy around my car right now. And I've noticed that, and that's a huge reason why I've wanted to change it. And that'll be a whole nother topic. But in general, it is really interesting how you can get in trouble so much. There are just so many laws when it comes to the cars. And what's interesting is that we have all these, and yet people are constantly breaking them regardless. And I don't think being punished is stopping anyone. I mean, there's probably going to be another incident when I park in the red again. And I probably will get away with it next time, right? It's rare. I mean, the fact that I got caught within a minute is crazy, right? There was a risk that I took, and I thought that I would be okay. And so it's interesting how our system has just punish. And the other thing that was interesting was just the way that the guy handled it. And this is something a lot of people think about when they get tickets, is the people that work as parking enforcement have one of the toughest jobs around. Anyone really that works in government, police officers, judges, people even that work behind desks at government offices. I went in and registered my business recently, and you just walk in and it just feels miserable. Everyone's sitting there behind their desk like this, or they won't look at you. They're sitting there like this, like when you go to the DMV. And it's just so sad, all of that energy. So whenever I go into the DMV or government place, I just try to walk in there with I try to just infuse myself with positive energy, not to an obnoxious point, but just a subtle thing. And it usually works to my benefit, actually. Every time that I've gone into a government office or whatever, that something good has happened. So one regret that I have about the incident today was that I wish that I had been less selfish in my reaction at the moment. It was only a matter of a few minutes, and selfishly, right? I say this because I was so focused on myself at that moment. I wasn't really focusing on that man. In fact, I kind of wanted him to feel bad. That was so selfish. Well, in hindsight, what I wish I had done was even just non-verbally put out some positive energy and not tried to make him feel bad. Because think about this. These people spend their entire days punishing other people, writing them tickets. And in many cases, this ruins somebody's day. Some people's weeks are ruined by this. This might throw off their entire budget. I mean, it is a terrible job. People are terrified of these people. They're angry at these people. I mean, being a parking enforcement officer is one of the worst jobs, right? And we feel like it's okay to be mean to them. We feel like it's okay to treat them in all these different ways. So no wonder when this man handed me my ticket, he didn't even look me in the eye. He had this stonewall, I don't care what you think of me attitude. And I wish that I had had more of and maybe, next time when I'm in that situation, I'll remember this. And I would encourage you to really try to focus on putting out something positive so that not only do you feel good, but maybe that person will feel that. Maybe there's some one word or one sentence that you could say, maybe you could genuinely say, thank you, have a nice day. I mean, what if you genuinely said that to someone? I mean, they probably never hear that. And not to mention, what kind of a person does it take to get a job like that? I've never met anyone who would ever want to be a parking enforcement officer. Where is the joy in that job? The only joy that there might be is maybe they get excited to give a ticket. I don't know. Do they get commission or something? I don't know how it works, but they might have no joy. They might get a pat on the back for giving out a certain number of tickets. Maybe there's some sort of reward system set in place, which is kind of messed up, but who knows how that works. But they probably get the most hate out of anyone. So to me, I actually feel really sad right now that I didn't think to pass on some love to that person, right? To me, it's like shifting that energy. The other thing that was really interesting was that what I was bringing in to the post office, I had 2 t-shirts and one thing I sold online through a trade website. It's actually really cool. It's called TradeZ, and you can trade in like clothing, accessories, stuff. And the total value that I made from those 3 items was almost exactly the amount that the ticket cost. And to me, that was actually a really cool moment. And I was trying to think about what I can learn from that too. One is I've been really focusing on just the flow of money. Instead of having fear that I don't have enough, I have confidence that the money is always coming in, right? And that's something that is a hard emotion to work on. I've been feeling my entire life that I didn't have enough and that money was hard. And all these emotions I've been untangling around money. So my recent focus is that money's just flowing in and I'm going to have everything that I need and all of that. So what's interesting is if you think about the flow often isn't just always coming towards you, it's sometimes going away. And I was thinking about how basically I feel very fortunate because I received about $93 and $93 was taken away. It was just like a circular thing. So in a way, it didn't really harm me. And for that, I feel kind of grateful. And I was just kind of thinking about how that just works. I could certainly think that money was taken away, or I could think that money was kind of loaned to me temporarily or something, right? Maybe it was just a reminder of how fortunate I was to have that money. Maybe that's all it was. You know, I know that seems like a stretch, but it's an interesting concept when you think of money that way. Let me see if I have any other notes here. I think I've said it all. Yeah, so all these different emotions. It's just been fascinating and to be able to laugh it off, to be able to earn. I almost said gurn. I think I did say gurn. What I meant to say was, I was going to say gain, but I really meant to say earn, and it became gurn. What I gurned from this situation, you know, that is all you can be grateful for, right? And everything's fine. That money will be back around again. I'm okay. And maybe the city needs it more than me. That's the other thing too, is energetically, money is just an energetic thing. It's an exchange of value. And maybe the city needs the money more than I do right now. They probably do, to be honest. I mean, our government is not in the greatest shape. Maybe that money is going towards that guy. And part of me was thinking, I wish I could have just given him the $93 and said, hey, cheer up. I know your job is really hard, so let me give you $93, you know? I wish that their system worked a little bit differently like that. And I also wish that I had a passion for the government, because it would be very nice to be able to be involved somehow with shifting this or trying to shift things, because man, our structure is kind of just set up for so much misery. And I hope one day that we can find some really positive ways to shift things. But until then, we just have to take personal responsibility for shifting it within ourselves and the people around us and the situations around us that we can control. So while I can't control the fact that you can get punished for doing something that you didn't think was a big deal, listen, I mean, come on. Like, there's so many other horrible things I could have done. But parking in a red zone, for 1 minute, $93 is going to cost you. Okay. All right. So that is my experience and my thoughts. I would love to hear from you if you have any other tactics, mental tactics, experiences, lessons that you've learned from typically traumatic situations. And I would like to encourage you to ask me in a week or more. So today is December 2nd, 2014. Ask me in a week or so about how I feel about that ticket. Write it in a comment, because I'm curious how I will feel even tomorrow. I'm hoping that by the time I pay for this ticket, the energy will just be lifted and I will go on with my life as if it never happened. So even though it's still slightly painful and I feel a little tender around the situation, I think very, very soon it won't be that big of a deal. And I think that's the last lesson I'll leave you with here is the fact that I couldn't remember that ticket I got in New York last year is a great sign, right? Not to say that you should be frivolous and try to get tickets, but it's a reminder that when you're going through pain, if you can think back to something that was equally painful in the past and know that you got through it and it doesn't hurt as more. That's what I'm saying here. I'm curious how long it'll take me to be completely over this, if that's even that necessary. But again, with everything I've gained, I'm just going to choose to be grateful. Thank you so much for watching. It feels good to talk to you, and it means the world that you watch and you comment. So thank you. I really hope for a day when there is a really great way that we can have more conversations together. Google Hangouts are great and all, but when I want to just talk, I don't know. There's got to be somebody's going to build something like that one of these days where YouTube can be more interactive and more live, and that you can just turn on I don't know. It's such a simple concept. That's basically the idea of Google Hangout, but people miss out on Google Hangouts. There's something about Google Hangouts that's just, it feels different, right? It's a different experience than what if, I'm sure one day there'll be a way for us to feel like we're really having a live conversation. What would be cool is if you could record your thoughts too. I don't know. That's all possible. I don't know. I'm just, I'm thinking out loud here. A lot of this technology exists, and my point is it's not quite right yet. And I know that in the future, there'll be a way where we can really feel like this is a conversation and really connect with one another in a more intimate, live setting that works a little bit nicer than Google Plus does. Hey, and listen, I do a Google Plus every single Saturday on the Main Eco Vegan Gal channel. It's awesome. But it's not quite what I'm after yet, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting, listening, pondering with me. I will see you next time. Every Sunday guaranteed, and maybe more frequently. Bye.